sports, you may not recognize the fact that this has been a championship week in the world of several different sports activities. We have crowned champions, and even today we're going to crown a champion. Well, it started, I'm not sure which one happened first, but we'll just go to my least favorite of all of them, and some of your most favorite, and that was that the Boston Bruins won the Stanley Cup championship in hockey. Now, I enjoy going to a live hockey game. The TV hockey is boring. It's as bad as cooking shows. Almost. But there was a lot of celebration. A party, a parade went on because these guys skated faster and hit harder and put that little plastic thing in the net. Then we had the Dallas Mavericks win the NBA championship over the team that was sure to be the winners. Well, they weren't as sure as they thought they were. And some thought it was an upset, some thought it wasn't. It doesn't matter. Guess who's got the trophy? The champions. And they've had their parade and they've celebrated. Then over this weekend, in the world of golf, which is God's sport, we have the U.S. Open. And we're going to crown a champion today. It's been very intriguing. The young man in the picture there is a North Islander, 22 years old, that is making everybody look like beginners. He is doing phenomenally well. Now, he does have a history of on Sunday falling all to pieces. So we need to stop and have prayer for Rory. We'll let him pray for himself. But we're going to crown a champion, and most think it'll be that boy. If he doesn't just fall in the lake somewhere, it probably will be. The champion. Last night, Scott and I had a great, great privilege of going to a dinner honoring a dear friend of mine, the name of Dr. Reverend W.A. Johnson. You've heard him preach back when our sound system was not quite as strong as it is now. He would break in on us about every fourth or fifth Sunday and preach while I was trying to close, because his church is right across the track. W.A. has been in Bristol now for 50 years, preaching the gospel of Jesus Christ and being so involved in our community and the needs of our community. He is a dear friend, a hero in so many ways. A lot of folks who don't know him personally don't know the hard way he has had to go through, and the hard things, losing a wife and some struggles in that arena, and just hard things that he's gone through. And he's paid a price and sacrifice that has done a great, great work for God. And the banquet hall at Holiday Inn was jammed with people last night at a sold-out dinner. And you can imagine it was a dress-up affair. And it was wonderful. And so many honored him and shared their love. The mayors of both cities, police chiefs, other politicians, preachers. As we sat down at the table, I looked at the program and saw about 8 or 9 preachers' names that I knew. Saw the politicians' names. It was 6 o'clock. I told Scott, we'll be home by midnight. You can't have that many preachers and that many politicians without having a long time. But they surprised me. They gave them each 2 minutes to do their thing, which means they took 4. But it still was a whole lot better than 30. And it was a wonderful evening. And we honored a man worthy of honor. And if I've ever met a champion, it's W.A. Johnson. I enjoyed especially one thing he said that spoke to my heart. In the closing moments, he, of course, responded to all the wonderful things that were done and said. But he said, in 1961, my little ragtag family and I showed up in Bristol to pastor this little church on the tracks. He said, I didn't come to stay. He was young, ambitious, had some pretty big things in mind that God might do with his life. So this was his starting place. He said, I didn't come to stay, but God sent me to stay. And he said, somewhere on the line, I decided to agree with him. And I thought to myself, that's really where we all need to be, isn't it? Every once in a while, no matter what we've got planned and what we have in our agenda, sometimes we just need to come to the place we agree with Jesus and go where he leads us and do what he calls us to do. And I feel like I was in the presence of a champion. So what is a champion? Well, the definition of champion is one who wins first place or first place in a competition. Or two, one that is clearly superior or has the attitudes of a winner. Or number three, an ardent defender or supporter of a cause or of another person. Now, I could just stop with those definitions and go down them and ask, do you consider yourself a champion? In what arena of life? Even in the life of fathering, and that's where I'm going to deal mostly with this morning. What does it take to be a champion father? You say, well, a competition, winning a competition, is there competition? You better believe there's competition for your children. The enemy himself wants your children. This culture and this world wants to control, rob, and kill your children. You're in a competition for your children's life, sanity, and soul. So what makes a champion father? Well, I found a group of folks that I had not heard of before, but it became evident where they came from. It's called the National Center for Fathering. And this is a ministry that was birthed out of Promise Keepers. As the Lord used this ministry for a period of time, out of that came many ministries that have been revolutionary in our world over these last about 20 years. And one of these is the National Center for Fathering. They have been a research institute, but they've also been, from this research, they have formulated a three-tier statement of what it takes to be a champion father, the essentials of what it means to champion fathership. Number one is loving. In Matthew chapter 3, verse 17, we find that Jesus is being baptized. And as he's being baptized, a dove as such comes and lands on his shoulder, and a voice from heaven sounds forth. And the voice of God said, "This is my dearly loved Son." King James says, "Of whom I am well pleased." Other translation says, "Who brings me great joy." You say, what? But yet, God the Father sent Jesus to die. Never doubt the fact that God loved his Son. But never doubt the fact that God loved you. Amen. And the first step to be a champion father is loving. Fathers need to communicate in every way, in clear and concrete ways, their true love and their commitment to their children and their children's mother. As fathers, we need to love our children because they are our children, not just for what they do. Be very careful to love your children properly, in order, without favor. There's sad stories all through Scripture of parents who favored a child. And in that favoring caused great hardship for their other children and sometimes for nations. And some of it changed history because of an imbalance of love in a home. Love your children properly. Some questions to ask. How often do you praise your children for doing things well? How often do you express affection verbally to your children? I was raised very conservatively. I was raised from country folks, and I don't know why, but in their conservatism, they did not show affection. To this day, if I see my dad today, which I hope I do, most probably he will shake my hand first. It's the proper greeting. Now, somewhere along the line, I decided to change that. The first time it happened accidentally. We were living somewhere out in the Midwest, Oklahoma, Texas, somewhere out there, and we talked to the folks. That was back when phones cost you money, remember? Long distance charges. Everybody remember long distance charges? And so you'd have to budget your long distance calls. You know, one week it's her mom, and the next week it's my mom. So, you know, you work this thing out. And it was our time to call mom and dad, and we'd had a conversation as we always did. And at the end, just accidentally, I slipped. And I said, "Love you, Pop." To be honest, it was the first time I'd ever told him that on the telephone. And I had really not told him that much any other way. It was just, we knew it. There was no question of our love. It was just uncomfortable because of the way that he was raised, and in some ways the way I was raised. But as I hung up, I realized that was cool. Because he loved me back. And now, we never hang up without telling each other that we love them. And even now, when Dad, in his habitual way, will, you know what I do with that hand? I yank him into a hug. And he kind of likes it. And his son kind of likes it. I'm glad the Lord has taught us that to love is proper and is a blessing. Love your children. Tell your children. Show your children that you love them. And one of the great gifts that you can give your children is to listen to their concerns. Now, quite often that's interesting and it's fun. Sometimes it's tedious. Sometimes the things they're interested in are really not the things you're interested in. There's a story, a little story that actually I got published 100 years ago in a church magazine. And it was telling the story of a day that I was having a children's moment in one of my pastures. And I sat on the platform like this, and I asked the little kids to come and sit around me. And they did. And there's a whole bunch of them sitting around me, and I'm sitting there and I'm telling a Bible story. And I've got their rapt attention, I think. And little Matthew Murray pokes me on the shoulder. Pokes me on the shoulder. I'm trying to tell a story, Matthew. Pokes me on the shoulder. I finally said, "Yes, sir." He said, "I like your ring." Now, Matthew could care less about my ring. He was not into jewelry. He wasn't even in school yet. Matthew just wanted me and him to communicate. He wanted my attention. Sometimes the crazy, crazy things the kids will want to talk to you is not really what they're interested in. What they're interested in is you.